Welcome to the first layer of the Surreal game's Iceberg. This is my first Iceberg video, so tips would be appreciated. First, here's a definition of the Surreal games. In Surreal games, the intention is to cut away constraints of rationalism and allow concepts to develop more freely and in a more random manner. The aim is to break traditional thought patterns and create a more original outcome. Yume Nikki is a game in which you traverse the extremely dark world inside a dream. It is an adventure, casual, free-to-play indie game that was developed by Kikiyama and published by Playism. It was released on the 10th of January 2018 on the PC and Mac. Popular horror RPG games is a category. It includes the games Mad Father, Ao Oni, and Crooked Man. This category includes a major element of being frightened. LSD Dream Emulator is a game in which the player explores surreal environments without any objective. The game was conceived by Japanese artist Osamu Sato, who rejected the idea of games and wanted to use a PlayStation as a medium for creating contemporary art. The game's concept is based on a dream diary kept by an Asmik Ace employee for over a decade. It was developed and published by Asmik Ace Entertainment. It was released on 22nd of October 1998 on the PlayStation 1. WarioWare is a series. It includes the games WarioWare Inc. Mega Microgames, which was released on the 21st March 2003 on the Game Boy Advance. WarioWare Inc. Mega Party Games was released on the 17th of October 2003 on the Nintendo GameCube. WarioWare Twisted was released on the 14th of October 2004 on the Game Boy Advance. WarioWare Touched was released on the 2nd of December 2004 on the Nintendo DS. WarioWare Smooth Moves was released on the 2nd of December 2006 on the Wii. WarioWare Snapped was released on the 24th of December 2008 on the DSiWare. WarioWare DIY was released on the 29th of April 2009 on the Nintendo DS. WarioWare DIY Showcase was released on the 29th of March 2009 on the WiiWare. Game & Wario was released on the 28th of March 2013 on the Wii U. WarioWare Gold was released on the 27th of July 2018 on the Nintendo 3DS. WarioWare Get It Together was released on the 10th of September 2021 on the Nintendo Switch. WarioWare, sometimes known as WarioWare Inc., is a series of video games starring Wario and his friends. Unlike the Wario Land games, which are platformers like the main Mario series, WarioWare is a series of minigame compilations. WarioWare is unique, however, in that the minigames are very short, most only lasting several seconds. These microgames make up the basis of the series and are strung together in quick succession, with different control schemes encouraging frantic action by the player. WarioWare has also been known for incorporating a gimmick in each game, mostly taking advantage of the latest Nintendo hardware. The genre is minigames and was developed and published by Nintendo. Omori is a game that prominently features concepts such as anxiety and depression. The game has psychological horror elements. In the story, the player controls a hikikomori boy named Sunny and his dream world alter ego Omori. They explore both the real world and the surreal dream world to overcome their fears and secrets. How they interact depends on the choices made by the player, resulting in one of the several endings. The game's turn-based battle system includes unconventional status effects based on the character's emotions. It is an RPG that was developed by Almacat LLC and was published by Playism. It was released on the 25th of December 2020 on Microsoft Windows and Mac. Earthbound is a series of games that includes the original game Mother, which was released on the 27th of July 1989 on the NES. The second game, Earthbound, was released on the 27th of August 1994 on the SNES. The third and final game, Mother 3, was released on the 20th of April 2006 on the Game Boy Advance. The game features mechanics modeled on the Dragon Quest series. Mother is known for its sense of humor, originality, and parody. The player uses weapons and psychic powers to fight hostile enemies, which include animated everyday objects, aliens, and brainwashed people. Signature elements of the series include a lighthearted approach to plot battle sequences with psychedelic backgrounds and the rolling HP meter. The player health ticks down like an odometer rather than instantly being subtracted, allowing the player to take preventable actions such as healing or finishing the battle before the damage is fully dealt. While the franchise is popular in Japan, In the Anglosphere, it is best associated with the cult following behind Earthbound. Mother is a role-playing game that was developed by Shiga Sato Itoi and published by Nintendo. Desert Bus is a game in a series that is considered by Penn to be the best part of the collection. Desert Bus is a simulation trick minigame and a featured part of Electronic Gaming's monthly preview. The objective of the game is to drive a bus from Tucson, Arizona to Las Vegas, Nevada in real time at a maximum speed of 45 miles per hour. The feat requires 8 hours of continuous play in real time to complete. The bus contains no passengers, there is little scenery aside from an occasional rock or bus stop sign, and there is no traffic. The road between Tucson and Las Vegas is simplified compared to the real highways. It is now completely straight. The bus veers to the right slightly and thus requires the player's constant attention. It is a party game that was developed by Imagineering and published by Absolute Entertainment. It was released on the 27th of November 2017 on the PC. Undertale is an indie RPG game in which the player controls a child who has fallen into the underground, a large, secluded region under the surface of the earth, separated by a magical barrier. The player meets various monsters during the journey back to the surface, although some monsters might engage the player in a fight. The combat system involves the player navigating through many bullet hell attacks by the opponent. They can opt to pacify or subdue monsters in order to spare them instead of killing them. These choices affect the game with the dialogue, characters, and story changing based on the outcomes. It was developed and published by Toby Fox. It was released on September 15, 2015 on the PC, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Vita, and the Xbox One. Jazzpunk is a comedy indie adventure set in an alternate reality Cold War world, plagued with corporate espionage, cybercrime, and sentient martinis. Gameplay is inspired by spoof comedy films and cartoons of yesteryear, with a focus on weird gadgets, exotic locals, and open-world style. It was developed and published by Necrophone Games. It was released on the 7th of February 2014 on the PC and PlayStation 4. Katamari Damacy is a series of games that includes Katamari Damacy, which was released on the 18th of March 2004 on the PlayStation 2. The second game, We Love Katamari, was released on the 6th of July 2005 on the PlayStation 2. The third game, and the first and only game in the series to be released on the PlayStation Portable, Me and My Katamari, was released on the 22nd of December 2005. The fourth game and first game in the series to be released on mobile phones, Katamari Damacy Mobile, was released on the 1st of June 2007. The fifth game and the first and only game to be released on the Xbox 360, Beautiful Katamari, was released on the 16th of October 2007. The sixth game, Katamari Damacy-kun, was released on the 1st of November 2007 on mobile phones. The seventh game, Rolling with Katamari, was released on the 1st of November 2008 on mobile phones. The eighth game, I Love Katamari, was released on the 14th of December 2008 on iOS, Windows Phone, and Android. The ninth game and first and only game to be released on the DSiWare Kurogashi Puzzle Katamari Damacy was released on the 25th of March 2009. The 10th game and the first and only game in the series to be released on the PlayStation 3, Katamari Forever, was released on the 23rd of July 2009. The 11th game, Oi Katamari Damacy-kun, was released on the 20th of October 2009 on mobile phones. The 12th game, Katamari Amore, was released on the 29th of September 2011 on iOS. The 13th game, Katamari Damacy Mobile Plus, was released on the 17th of November 2011 on Android. The 14th game and only game in the series to be released on the PlayStation Vita, Touch My Katamari, was released on the 17th of December 2011. The 15th game, Katamari Damacy Mobile 2, was released on the 8th of March 2012 on iOS. The 16th game, Tap My Katamari, was released on the 4th of January 2017 on iOS and Android. The 17th game, Amazing Katamari Damacy, was released on the 5th of December 2017 on iOS and Android. The 18th game, Katamari Damacy Reroll, was released two different times. The first release was on 7th December 2018 on the Nintendo Switch and PC. The second release was on the 7th December 2020 on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. In most games, players typically control the player character, the Prince, as he is ordered to do various tasks by his father, the King of all Cosmos. For example, in the first title, the king binge drinks and inadvertently destroys all of the stars in the cosmos, to which the prince is now tasked with fixing. To do this, the prince uses an object called a Katamari, which can roll up certain objects depending on the Katamari's relative size to them. Players typically control the Katamari using 2 analog sticks. Players move forward and backward by pushing the analog sticks in that direction simultaneously. They can turn the Katamari by pushing only one stick in the desired direction, or pushing the sticks in opposite directions to do so faster. Players may also do a 180 turn that causes the prince to jump on the other side of the Katamari, typically by pressing 2 sticks down on the controller. Players may cause a Katamari to roll at high speeds, typically by rapidly moving 2 sticks in opposite directions back and forth. Players may also cause the prince to jump and get a better look at the world by pressing L1. More recently, players are given the ability to call the prince hop, as well as look at the world in the first person. It is a third-person puzzle action game that was developed and published by Namco. The Silent Hill series is a series of multiple games that includes the first and only game in the series to be released on the PlayStation, Silent Hill, which was released on the 31st of January 1999. The second and first game in the series to be released on the PlayStation 2, Silent Hill 2, was released on the 24th of September 2001. The third game, Silent Hill 3, was released on the 23rd of May 2003 on the PlayStation 2. The fourth and only game in the series to be released on the Xbox and PC, Silent Hill 4 The Room, was released on the 17th of June 2004, and it was also released on the PlayStation 2. The fifth and only game in the series to be released on the PlayStation Portable, Silent Hill Origins, was released on the 6th of November 2007. The sixth and first game in the series to be released on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, Silent Hill Homecoming, was released on the 30th of September 2008. The seventh and only game in the series to be released on the Wii, Silent Hill Shattered Memories, was released on the 8th of December 2009. The eighth and final game in the series, Silent Hill Downpour, was released on the 13th of March 2012 on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. The series is heavily influenced by the literary genre of physical horror, with its player characters being mostly everymen. It is a survival horror game that was developed by Konami, Creature Labs, Climax Studios, Double Helix Games, Vatra Games, WayForward Technologies, and Kojima Productions. It was also published by Konami. Harvester is an interactive point-and-click adventure game in which teenager Steve Mason awakens in the town of Harvest, USA in the year 1953 with no memories of his past or who he is. Exploring his home, he discovers that he doesn't recognize his mother or younger brother, both of whom act strangely. His mother seemingly can't stop baking dozens of cookies for a charity event a week away, causing her to throw out each subsequent batch, and his brother obsessively watches an ultra-violent cowboy show that seems to be the only program broadcast on Harvest televisions. Exploring the town, Steve discovers Harvest is populated by hostile, strange individuals whom he likens to facsimiles or parodies of real people. Steve further learns that no one believes him to genuinely be amnesiac, with every citizen he meets responding to his pleas for help with the canned response, "You always were a kidder, Steve." Everyone in town further encourages Steve to join the Lodge, a large building reminiscent of the Hagia Sophia, located at the center of town that serves as the headquarters of the Order of the Harvest Moon, which seems to be the socio-political center of life in Harvest. It was developed by Digifix Interactive and published by Merit Studios. It was released on the 1st of October 1996 on the DOS, Microsoft Windows, and Linux. Zeno Clash is a beat-em-up and first-person shooter game that was developed and published by Ace Team. It was also published by Iceberg Interactive, Tripwire Interactive, and Atlas. It was released on the 21st of April 2009 on Microsoft Windows and the Xbox 360. In the main story mode, players assume the role of Gad and progress through the world of Xenozoic, visiting various locations in a linear sequence. Gameplay is presented in a first-person perspective, with occasional cutscenes in a third-person perspective. When the player enters the certain areas, it triggers a scripted sequence initiating a battle in which the player must defeat all enemies to proceed. Gad is a proficient in martial arts and can dodge or counter enemy attacks. While there is a strong focus on unarmed combat, Gad can also obtain unconventional melee and ranged weapons by several means, such as disarming enemies. Before we start talking about this entry, I want to clarify that there isn't very much information about the games. Puppet Combo Games is a series of survival horror games developed and published by Puppet Combo. This series includes the first game Minotaur, which was released in 2012, the second game Babysitter Bloodbath, which was released in 2013, the third game Power Drill Massacre, which was released in 2015, the fourth and fifth games Texas Butcher and Meat Cleaver Mutilator were released in 2016. The sixth and seventh games, The Night Ripper and Buzzsaw Bloodhouse, were released in 2017. The 8th through 19th games, Planet of Bloodthirsty Santa, Stay Out of the House, Night Shift Spiders, Nun Massacre, and Freed Me Billy, were all released in 2018. The 14th through 20th games, Blood Maniac, The Glass Staircase, The Riverside Incident, Day 7, Evil Clowns, Scary Tales Volume 1, and Samhain were all released in 2019. The 21st and 22nd games, Night Watch and Murder House, were released in 2020. The 23rd game, Christmas Massacre, was released in 2021 and is his latest release as of the writing of this video. Puppet Combo, originally Pig Farmer Games and real name Benedetto Ben Kokuza, is a one-man game developer that specializes in a specific genre of mixing PS1 and PS2 survival horror games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil with low-budget 70s slasher films like Halloween and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Starting in 2017, Puppet Combo began as a Patreon and started making exclusive games on an almost monthly basis for it. In 2019, Puppet Combo started publishing games by other developers on his Patreon. In June 2020, Puppet Combo started a horror publishing label, Torture Star, and started promoting and publishing games from other small indie game developers. Post Void is an action indie game that was developed and published by YCJY Games and released on the 6th of August 2020 on Microsoft Windows. It is a hypnotic scramble of early first-person shooter design that values speed above all else. Keep your head full and reach the end. Kill what you can to see it mend. Get the high score or try again. American McGee's Alice is an action-adventure game that was developed by Rogue Entertainment and published by Electronic Arts and Aspyr Media. It was released on the 6th of December on Microsoft Windows, Mac OS, and PlayStation 3, and the Xbox 360. In the game, Alice can communicate with non-player characters, fight off enemies and bosses, and solve puzzles. Along with the basic actions of walking and jogging, Alice can jump, cling to ledges, climb and swing on ropes, swim in water, and glide over columns of steam by using her inflated dress as a makeshift parachute. The game can be played at 4 difficulty levels: easy, medium, hard, and nightmare. The game's levels feature many platforms and other obstacles not based on artificial intelligence, as well as puzzles that require solving for further passage through the game. Throughout the game, Alice can obtain up to 10 different weapons known as toys for use against enemies. Hong Kong 97 is a bullet hell game in which the player controls Chin, who must shoot and evade the Chinese populace and police officers moving downwards from the top of the screen. When shot, the enemies explode in mushroom clouds, leaving behind a flashing corpse and items for instant death or temporary invincibility. After a while, cars start appearing from the sides, moving horizontally across the screen as obstacles. After 30 enemies have been defeated by the player, the final boss, the ultimate weapon, Tong Sha Ping, appears. Once he is defeated, the game repeats itself. It was developed and published by Happysoft and was released on the 2nd of April 1995 on the SNES. Deadly Premonition is a survival horror game where the game's objective is to guide the player character, FBI Special Agent Francis York Morgan, as he investigates the identity of the Raincoat Killer, who is responsible for a murder in the rural town of Greenvale. York receives in-game money for numerous actions, both for finishing levels and for minor events, such as shaving his beard or changing suits. He can also be fined for poor performance, such as wearing a filthy outfit which attracts flies. Additionally, he requires food and sleep at regular intervals as indicated by the gauges measuring his hunger and neediness for sleep. If his gauge for sleepiness reaches 0, he will become hungry far more quickly and his heartbeat gauge will increase much faster when running. If his gauge for hunger depletes, he will begin to lose health until he dies. Sleeping restores his health and tiredness, while food and items used to ward off sleepiness, such as coffee, can be purchased from stores in Greenvale. It was developed by Access Games and published by Ignition Entertainment, Marvelous Entertainment, Rising Star Games, Axis Games, and Numskull Games. It was released on the 23rd of February 2010 on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, Microsoft Windows, and the Nintendo Switch. Pony Island is an indie game that was developed and published by Daniel Mullins Games. It was released on the 4th of January 2016 on the PC. Pony Island is a suspense puzzle game in disguise. You are in limbo, trapped in a malevolent and malfunctioning arcade machine devised by the devil himself. It is not a game about ponies. The Stanley Parable is an indie adventure that was developed and published by Galactic Cafe. It was released on the 17th of October 2013 on the PC. The Stanley Parable is a first-person exploration game. You will play as Stanley and you will not play as Stanley. You will follow a story, you will not follow a story. You will have a choice and you will not have a choice. The game will end, the game will never end. The Binding of Isaac is an action-adventure indie and RPG game that was developed by Edmund McMillan and Florin Himsel and was published by Edmund McMillan. It was released on the 28th of September 2011 on Microsoft Windows and Mac OS. When Isaac's mother starts hearing the voice of God demanding a sacrifice be made to prove her faith, Isaac escapes into the basement facing droves of deranged enemies, lost brothers and sisters, his fears, and eventually his mother. The Binding of Isaac is a randomly generated action RPG shooter with heavy roguelike elements. Following Isaac on his journey, players will find bizarre treasures that change Isaac's form, giving him superhuman abilities and enabling him to fight off droves of mysterious creatures, discovering secrets and fight his way to safety. Pikmin is a real-time strategy adventure game. The game's plot focuses on Captain Olamar's predicament of having crash-landed on an unknown planet and befriending plant-animal creatures that he dubs as Pikmin. Olamar has to gather the missing pieces of his broken spaceship in order to escape, before his air supply completely runs out and he succumbs to the planet's oxygen-rich atmosphere, which is poisonous to his species. Pikmin features 3 endings, which are dependent on the number of spaceship parts reclaimed. Reclaiming all 30 parts by the final day results in the best ending. Olamar waves goodbye to the Pikmin, who proceed to defend themselves on their own at night time, while onions of various colors observe his departure as he looks back on the unknown planet before returning home. Reclaiming at least the 25 required parts by the final day results in the normal ending. Olamar quickly departs while one of each of the type of Pikmin runs toward his ship to watch him depart. It was developed and published by Nintendo and was released on the 26th of October 2021 on the GameCube. Tomodachi Life is a social simulation game that begins with the player naming their island and creating or importing their personal me, who is referred to as the player's lookalike, and lives in an apartment building. Once giving the players lookalike food to eat, they will ask for a friend. After creating another me for them, a short video will play, set in the future, showing the lookalike's possible future spouse and baby, whose faces are hidden. Afterward, the town hall will open, giving access to create more me's. The player visits a married couple's house where they can be seen playing with their baby. The Miis are voiced by a nuance-based text-to-speech software and can have unique personalities. It was developed and published by Nintendo and was released on the 18th of April 2013 on the 3DS. Also, side note, I played this game since I was a child, so anyone else who has played this game, let me know in the comments down below. Noby Noby Boy is an action game that was developed and published by Namco Bandai Games. It was released on the 19th of February 2009 on the PlayStation 3 and iOS. Noby Noby Boy is a game where the player takes control of a worm-like quadrupedal character referred to as Boy. Using the controller, the left analog stick moves the front of Boy while the right stick controls the back. By moving both ends in opposite directions, the player can stretch the Boy's abdomen to colossal lengths. The player can maneuver the Boy around its environment, interacting with stationary objects like houses or AI-controlled characters, such as barnyard animals. The player accumulates points by how much they stretch during the gameplay. We are now done with the first layer. Thank you for watching, and if you made it to the end, comment WarioWare. Make sure to like and subscribe, as any interaction helps me a lot as a small creator. Bye!